the truth. You can't handle the truth. Truth.
And now, live from the Star Worldwide Studios Tower, overlooking the fifth largest city in America and heard worldwide, it's the Josh Bernstein Show. Liberal hypocrisy and leftist lunacy exposed and dismantled with intellect and facts. And now, here's your unapologetic host, Josh Bernstein.
If we may have the first question.
Before the question, you asked me if you could make an announcement first. And I asked you for permission to make an announcement myself.
Would the sound man please turn Mr. Reagan's mic off? Is this on?
Mr. Green,
Did you turn that mic off?
you asked for me if you would... I am paying for this microphone, Mr. Green.
That's all of his donors and special interests out there. So that's what it is. That's what. And by the way, let me just tell you, we needed tickets. You can't get them. You know who has the tickets for the? I'm talking about to the television audience. Donors, special interest, the people that are putting up the money. So it is. The RNC told us we have all donors in the audience, and the reason they're not loving me. The reason they're not loving me is I don't want their money. I'm going to do the right thing for the American public. I don't want their money. I don't need their money. And I'm the only one up here that can say that.
So I started today's show with those two clips. Number one, the Ronald Reagan clip, in which he says, "I'm paying for this microphone, Mr. Green." And then also followed by Donald Trump at last Saturday's debate. Now, why would I start the show with those two clips? Well, I think the reason is because they're very important pieces. And what they do is they show the seminal moments in each one of their careers, in their political aspirations, shall we say, that is going to more than likely propel them to the presidency and the nomination. Now, in January 7th of 1980 in New Hampshire, at that debate, the backstory on that, people don't understand what that means as far as, you know, I'm paying for this microphone. What does that mean? Well, back in the day, the Nashua Telegraph, the paper in town, was going to sponsor a debate. But they were only going to sponsor a debate between George H. Walker Bush and Ronald Reagan. Now, there was about 7 people running at that time. Well, one of the people that was running was Bob Dole. And Bob Dole complained that it showed favoritism to the paper. Well, they were correct. It did show favoritism to the paper. So instead, what ended up happening is when they showed up, there was confusion. There was a lot more people at the debate than there were supposed to be. And what happened at that point is Ronald Reagan said, okay, fine, my campaign will pay for the microphone. So when he sat down and the guy, Mr. Green, tried to cut off his microphone, and he got so upset and so mad, he said, I'm paying for this microphone, Mr. Green. Well, it turns out it wasn't Mr. Green. That was a mistake. It was actually Mr. Breen is what the gentleman's name was. So that's where that statement comes from. Now, the reason I bring that up is because what they did, or tried to do, should we say, to Donald Trump is similar. It's not the same, but it's similar. Because in the debate, what happened was he called out the audience. Very similar fashion. Reagan was trying to be silenced by having his microphone cut off. And Donald Trump was kind of being silenced, if you will, by being booed. Now, why was he being booed? Because he told the truth. He let out and unveiled the secret of the RNC and the establishment Republican Party. And the secret is what? That all of the audience is filled with donors, with special interests, with lobbyists, with members of the media, so on and so forth. That's why they were booing Donald Trump. Now, the reason that I bring this up is because of the fact that what happened at the debate last week in New Hampshire more than likely propelled Donald Trump to his victory that we just saw last night. I'm recording this show on Wednesday. And the reason I say that is because it was a similar moment, and that's why I started the show that way. The audience was chock full of Chris Christie, Jeb Bush, and John Kasich people. That's why anytime Donald Trump would say anything about securing the border or cutting down on China's cheating on trade, you would hear boos, loud boos. Why? Because the Chamber of Commerce was in the audience. So that entire audience, if you remember back to that debate, was chocked full of establishment, party hacks, and rhino Republicans. And that's why the people of New Hampshire went out and gave Donald Trump the victory that they gave him. Welcome to the Josh Bernstein Show. Again, welcome to another hard-hitting edition, the most content-driven television show out there. Now, today's show, we're going to obviously cover that, but we're also going to cover the Super Bowl. We're going to kind of go in order from the opening debate, that debate, to the Super Bowl. And then a little bit later on in the program, we're going to be joined by Evan Sayet. He's a comedian, a conservative comedian. He's been on my show a few times. He's never been on the television show, so we're going to talk to him. He's going to be coming into the Arizona area next week at the Laugh Factory to do his comedy show. He's very, very funny. He's kind of the conservative George Carlin. So we'll talk to him. But before I get back into what I was talking about, I want to thank everybody. I really, truly do. I want to thank you all for the wonderful comments that you made towards me on the Lavoy Finnegan shooting show. Again, anytime I bring you a show, it's going to be hard-hitting, it's going to be full of content, and it's going to be in-depth, and it's going to be passionate and driven. And I want to just say thank you so much for all of your support. I've heard from the Finnegan family, I've heard from the Bundy family that have seen the video. It's been shared over 15 times. My upload on Facebook has 14,000 views. There's 15,000 views on YouTube already, plus an article that was written about it has 8,000 or 9,000 shares. So we're talking 45,000, 50,000 people got a chance to see it. So again, thank you so much. I am so humbled and grateful and appreciative. And now I have to try to figure out how to live up to that one, but don't worry about it. I'm pretty sure that I can do it at some point. Now, I was going to do a big story on Bernie Sanders, and I plan on giving him a cavity search like you cannot believe. I will vet Bernie Sanders, okay? I will vet him from his radical ties, his radical past, his positions, where he grew up, everything. You will know everything about him, and I will do another expose like I did on the Finnegans shooting on Bernie Sanders. But I'm not going to do that right now today because sometimes politics and events, current events, dictate what you talk about. So there's no way I could have done a show like that and not have talked about some of these other things. But getting back to what I was saying, I think that what you saw last night was pretty much the same thing that not only the pundits were afraid of in the establishment, but what the people understand. And there is a movement, there's no question about it, there is a movement. Now, what's interesting is that Marco Rubio fell to 5th place, okay? As a matter of fact, Donald Trump had 35%, John Kasich had 16%, Ted Cruz had 12%, Jeb Bush had 11%, and Marco Rubio had about 10%. Now, the reason Marco Rubio fell, and again, I said beforehand that I thought Marco Rubio, because he outperformed his Iowa poll numbers so well, I said that I thought that it was going to be him and Donald Trump vying for the win in New Hampshire. But I said that before Marco Rubio was exposed by Chris Christie doing this. Go ahead and roll it.
Bottom line, this notion that Barack Obama doesn't know what he's doing is just not true.
There it is.
He knows exactly what he's doing.
The memorized 25-second speech.
Let's dispel once and for all with this fiction that Barack Obama doesn't know what he's doing. He knows exactly what he's doing. This notion that Barack Obama doesn't know what he's doing is just not true.
There it is.
Let's dispel with this fiction that Barack Obama doesn't know what he's doing. He knows exactly what he's doing. He is trying to change this country. He wants America to become more like the rest of the world. Anyone who believes that Barack Obama isn't doing what he's doing on purpose doesn't understand what we're dealing with here.
This was devastating. This was devastating. What Chris Christie did here was basically shown the American public and a national audience that Marco Rubio was robotic and fake. And he pointed it out in live time. Now, you would think if Chris Christie's bringing this up, that Marco Rubio maybe would have changed his tune at the debate. But he didn't. He didn't, which was unbelievable. He kept saying the same thing over and over. Let's break from this notion that Barack Obama doesn't know what he's doing. Let's break from this notion, it was like on repeat. It was like someone, the on-off switch on Marco was stuck on the on position, and it was like, your kid's toy that says the same stupid thing over and over again. You could shake it, you could throw it on the ground, it's still going to say the same thing. Well, that was Marco Rubio. It's so bad that in New Hampshire there was people that were showing up in front of his events dressed as robots. Okay? So he fell to 5th place. This was very, very damaging. And what's interesting is that Chris Christie, as damaging as a hit that he put on Marco, he didn't really get anything from it, which is surprising. You would normally think that the person who's crushing the other person in the debate would then get the benefit of that person being crushed. But that didn't happen. As a matter of fact, Chris Christie had 7.5% and finished in 6th place. So this is very interesting. Is John Kasich the new establishment rhino to take Marco's place? No, he's not. This was one state that he won, and I don't believe he's going to do much more than this one state. Okay? I really don't. I don't think his funding is going to go crazy. I don't think his messaging is going to change. I don't think he's going to do that well in Nevada and or South Carolina. But what's interesting about this is that Donald Trump did very well. Ted Cruz had a 3rd place finish, and I think Ted Cruz is going to do very well in South Carolina. I believe he'll be back up to close to where his numbers were in Iowa. I don't know if he's going to win it or not, but I will say this. If Donald Trump wins South Carolina and or places very, very close 2nd, you can pretty much say it's probably over at that point. Because that would then show that Donald Trump can compete in evangelical heavy states. And if that's the case, then on Super Tuesday, when they go through the southern rim, if you will, of the United States, and a lot of those southern states, if he's competing and winning, Ted Cruz is going to have a hard time. Now, again, as I've said, I like both of those candidates. I haven't endorsed anybody. And I really thought that it was going to be those two. We'll see what happens. If it is Donald Trump, I can almost assure you at this point that Ted Cruz more than likely will not be his VP. And basically because of the New York Values comment, but also because of the fact that Donald beat on him too bad with this whole eligibility thing, and he did it for too long. So I think there's 2 people that would be perfect for Donald Trump if he was to win the nomination and pick a VP. And those 2 people would either be Colonel Allen West in Florida or Sheriff David Clark of Wisconsin. I believe that from an electoral standpoint, they would bring in the African-American vote, number 1. Number 2, they are rock-ribbed, solid conservatives. And number 3, they add another element that Donald Trump doesn't have, and that is the military and or security background. Sheriff David Clark, again, being a sheriff, he knows law enforcement, so that could be great. Also, Alan West, Lieutenant Colonel Alan West is a great military veteran and excellent military leader. He can help navigate a very dangerous world. But it's still early. We've still got Nevada and South Carolina to come, so we shall see what happens. I'm going to take a quick break, and I'll be right back.
You're tuning into the Josh Bernstein Show, where Josh covers the news the way the liberal media would not dare.
It's 3 a.m. and your children are safe and asleep. But there's a phone in the White House and it's ringing. Something's happening in the world. Your vote will decide who answers that call. Whether it's someone who already knows the world's leaders, knows the military, someone tested and ready to lead in a dangerous world. It's 3 a.m. and your children are safe and asleep. Who do you want answering the phone?
I'm Hillary Clinton, and I approve this message.
I'm Josh Bernstein, and I approve this message.
Every once in a while, someone needs a hand. To hold, to comfort, to lift. All across America, people are joining hands with AMAC to support our nation's greatest values. Every AMAC member makes a difference, and the more who join, the stronger America will be. Stand with those who stand for freedom. Join AMAC. Better for you. Better for America.
Hi, Josh Bernstein here. Let me tell you about a fellow conservative and patriot named Arthur Mills. Arthur Mills spent 21 years serving our country. Now medically retired, he's still serving our country, but he's writing books now on how to protect it. Arthur has written 4 books, including the award-winning The Empty Lot Next Door. Unfortunately, due to his medical injuries sustained serving our nation, he must now use speech recognition software in order to write his books. His latest book, Friend or Foe, is an amazing story. Friend or Foe is a fun and entertaining modern-day animal farm that covers economics, environmentalism, and immigration. This story will help open the eyes of your children to the dangers of big government while frightening older readers with its modern-day relevance to many of today's issues. Friend or Foe is available for only $2.99 in both paperback and ebook versions at Amazon or through Arthur's website at www.branchingplotbooks.com. VA benefits only go so far, folks. Please, order Friend or Foe today.
You're tuning into The Josh Bernstein Show, where liberalism is a mental disorder. And Josh is the cure.
Okay, ladies, now let's get information. Okay, ladies, now let's get information. Prove to me you got some coordination. You just might be a black Bill Gates in the making.
Welcome back to the program. A little bit later on in the program, we are going to be joined by Evan Sayet. He is an excellent conservative comedian. He's going to be in the Arizona area next week. And if you are in the Arizona area, you definitely want to catch Evan Sayet's show. He's fantastic. I've had him on the show before. He's very, very funny. But before we get to Evan, I want to talk about the next progression in line. We did Saturday, which was the debate. Now we're going to do Sunday, which was the Super Bowl. Which, by the way, Super Bowl 50 was very boring. I mean, most people will say it was a terrible Super Bowl. Now, if you're a Broncos fan, you might have loved it. If you're a Carolinas fan, you obviously didn't love it at all. But taking the two teams out of the equation, the overall action, there wasn't any real big plays. There was a lot of fumbles. There was a lot of miscues. It just wasn't a great game overall. All right, 24-10 final score. Peyton Manning is going to go out, I believe, on top. I think that was the last game that anyone will see Peyton Manning play. So we'll see what happens. Carolina is a good team, and I'm sure that they'll bounce back at some point, maybe next season. But overall, again, a boring game. Now, the national anthem was fantastic. I don't really like Lady Gaga. I'm not a fan of hers. I think she's a weirdo and a wacko, and I don't know, anyone that shows up to a award ceremony dressed in meat is definitely has a couple of screws loose. But anyway, I digress. She did a fantastic job, absolutely fantastic job with the national anthem. She really, really nailed it. Lots of people have said and have been talking about how wonderful that was. But honestly, other than that, you could take the rest of the show and throw it in the garbage, because the halftime show was absolutely vile and disgusting, okay? This Beyonce is the Black Jane Fonda of our time, all right? Unbelievably vile, disgusting performance by her. Now, why do I say that? Well, because what she did in her opportunity to be, you know, one of the main showcases in the Super Bowl halftime show is she used it to show her left-wing radical roots and to use it to be politically charged and politically to the left. And she talked about Black Lives Matter subconsciously, didn't come out and say it. She talked about the Black Panthers Party without actually saying it, because her dancers were dressed that way. Unbelievable. And, you know, her new foundation video, if you watch it, which unfortunately I had to watch it to do some of the prep for the show, she's standing and laying on top of a police car that's submerged in water, as if to say that, you know, the police and nobody there and first responders weren't there in New Orleans during Hurricane Katrina. It was an ode to Hurricane Katrina. Without saying it, that's what she was doing, okay? Meanwhile, she doesn't say anything about Mayor Nagin and the fact that he had all those buses waiting for people to be taken out and didn't use them. So, again, liberal policies, liberal politicians equal, you know, mayhem, chaos, and death, because that's what happened. But looking at the entire thing, you know, she's sitting there, she's, you know, shaking her rump and doing this dance and everything else. And the way that those dancers were posed and they had their hands up like the Black Panther Party, it really, truly was terrible. It was truly terrible. Now, one of the most horrible things is there's a picture afterwards of her dancers holding up a sign that says, "Justice for Mario Woods." Now, for the folks that aren't paying attention or don't know, Mario Woods is someone that was involved in a police shooting here recently. Now, what's interesting about this is that she goes out and she lays on a police car. She talks about how she hates the police. She supports Black Lives Matter. Her and her husband have given $1.5 million to the Black Lives Matter movement. But yet, she ends up having a police escort and all the police security to protect her so that she can dance and spew her vile hatred. Okay? Now, I want to get to this Mario Woods because I wasn't going to bring up anything with Mario Woods and her dancers had that sign up. I figured, okay, fine. Let's examine that case. Go ahead and roll this clip. Okay. Now, as you can see in this clip, it's very disturbing. There's a picture of someone being shot and killed. It's horrible anytime someone gets shot and killed. But let's talk about the backstory here, okay? The backstory is that this person, Mario Woods, 26 years old, just got out of prison. He was a member of the Oakdale mob. He was a gang member. He was wanted... he was convicted on armed robbery, attempted armed robbery, stolen vehicles. He was caught in a police chase. In 2008, he pled guilty to firearm possessions, served 7 years in prison, and was only out 4 months when he was shot and killed. Now, why was he shot and killed? Well, because He walked up to a car with two people in it. He had a knife, and he tried to carjack somebody. The guy gets out of the car, fights him back, and this guy, Mario Woods, takes his knife and stabs him in his shoulder and then runs away. The guy gets back in his car. He drives to the local hospital. He tells the police what happened. He tells the doctors what happened. They sew up his arm. And then after that, they put an APB out, an all-points bulletin. They locate this person in the streets, still in possession of the knife. Two cops get out of the car, and they point their guns at him. They tell him to drop the knife. He does not drop the knife. They then radio ahead for more officers. So the next thing you know, you've got a whole bunch more officers coming, some of which are carrying non-lethal beanbag guns. They end up shooting him once with a beanbag gun. It does nothing. He does not drop the knife. Instead, then screams out a profanity that basically says, I'm not coming, you're not going to take me down today, and you better pull the MFing trigger and kill me because I'm not going to surrender. So what do? They shoot him again twice with a beanbag gun. They shoot him in the leg, and they end up getting him to a point where he bends over, and now he's limping. So there's the second time. A third time, they shoot him again with, again, these are non-lethal beanbags. They shoot him again, still holding the knife, not putting down the knife, giving him 3 separate opportunities to put the knife down, and he doesn't comply. So after that, he starts walking towards the officers. He wasn't lunging at them. He wasn't threatening them with the knife or anything like that. But he starts walking towards them. They are telling him to halt and back up, to stop, halt, back up, stop. Nothing happens. So they shoot him. Now, what happened in this case is what we're starting to see a lot in these police shootings. And what it's called is, where is it? Here it is. It's called emotional triggering. So what happens is when you're in a tense situation like this, one person shoots, right? Well, what happens at that point is the next guy who's fearful and scared and has the gun on him, he hears the sound of the one gunshot, and then he shoots. And then the next one shoots. And so what ends up happening is it becomes an emotional triggering. And that's why sometimes you get these situations where 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 shots are fired. Because again, it's like an emotional thing. Now, a lot of times that will happen with a rookie cop as well. Now, shooting someone to death because they are holding a knife is not grounds for lethal force. Let me be the first to tell you that. And I think it was totally in excess. They shot him 14 or 15 times. They just executed him on the street. And I don't want to see anybody executed on the street. And I think it's terrible, and I feel for him, I feel for his family. But let's be honest here. Let's be real. This was a career criminal, gang member, and thug who had a knife, already shown bodily intent and harm by stabbing someone. Now he's got a bloody knife, and he will not put it down. So what do you expect the police to do? I mean, they even tried to shoot him with non-lethal force first. It is what it is, folks. He got shot and got killed mainly because of the decisions that he made. Now, this is completely different than the Lavoie Finicum shooting, where the guy gets out of the car, unarmed, with his hands up, the true hands up, don't shoot, and then is executed by Oregon State Police, FBI, or Bureau of Land Management folks, or who knows, maybe even foreign police forces at this point. We don't even know yet. But that's completely different than this shooting, or the Michael Brown shooting, in which the guy is charging at them, or the Freddie Gray, or any of these other shootings that have happened. Okay? Typically, these folks, not always, but typically, they have an arrest record, they have a criminal record, and they are typically doing something that warrants that type of behavior. Now, again, I will say that there's no reason that they should have shot him that many times. They could have just shot him once in the leg, to kind of neutralize him and keep him on the ground, and then, try to get the knife away from him or something. I get it. 15, 14 times was excessive. But the bottom line is, if you're a criminal, you're a gang member, and you hold a knife against a police officer, you're going to get shot. Bottom line. So, that's all on that story. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll be with Evan Sayet. Do not go away.
You're tuning into the Josh Bernstein Show, where Josh covers the news the way the liberal media would not dare.
So what does Hillary Clinton think we should do about the Syrian refugees?
I think the United States has to do more, and I would like to see us move from what is a good start with 10,000 to 65,000.
What does Bernie Sanders think we should do about the Syrian refugees?
Do we have a moral responsibility to work with the rest of the world in providing help, bringing some of those people into this country? The answer is absolutely yes.
What does Donald Trump think we should do about the Syrian refugees?
I'm putting the people on notice that are coming here from Syria as part of this mass migration, that if I win, they're going back. They're going back. I'm telling you.
What would Donald Trump do to Iran?
I would bomb the shit out of them.
What would Donald Trump do to Al-Qaeda?
I would bomb the shit out of them.
What would Donald Trump do to ISIS?
I would bomb the shit out of them.
This will be coming to America. ISIS plans to bring these acts of terror to America. It makes no sense whatsoever for us to be bringing in refugees who our intelligence cannot determine if they are terrorists here to kill us or not.
This is not a grievance-based conflict. This is a clash of civilizations.
I'm Josh Bernstein, and I approve this message. Josh Bernstein here. You all know me as the hard-hitting and unapologetic conservative talk show host of the top-ranked Josh Bernstein Show. But did you also know that I have a softer side as well? I am proud and honored to be an official spokesman for a really great group known as the Association of Mature American Citizens, or AMAC for short. AMAC is a group focused squarely on meeting the needs and protecting the interests of America's seniors. We offer a conservative alternative on how to best solve the problems seniors face today. From saving Social Security to gaining more access and control over your health care, to answering your health-related questions and providing you with the products, services, and solutions that you seek. So if you are a senior 50 years of age or older and do not want more government-run and controlled healthcare solutions, there is another option. AMAC is better for America, and AMAC's got your back. AMAC.US. AMAC.US. Hi, Josh Bernstein here. Let me tell you about a fellow conservative and patriot named Arthur Mills. Arthur Mills spent 21 years serving our country. Now medically retired, he's still serving our country, but he's writing books now on how to protect it. Arthur has written 4 books, including the award-winning The Empty Lot Next Door. Unfortunately, due to his medical injuries sustained serving our nation, he must now use speech recognition software in order to write his books. His latest book, Friend or Foe, is an amazing story. Friend or Foe is a fun and entertaining modern-day animal farm that covers economics, environmentalism, and immigration. This story will help open the eyes of your children to the dangers of big government while frightening older readers with its modern-day relevance to many of today's issues. Friend or Foe is available for only $2.99 in both paperback and ebook versions at Amazon or through Arthur's website at www.branchingplotbooks.com. VA benefits only go so far, folks. Please, order Friend or Foe today.
You're tuning into The Josh Bernstein Show, where liberalism is a mental disorder. And Josh is the cure.
If the liberal is as stupid as I believe him to be, how does he keep rising to the tops of his professions? And then it dawned on me. Liberals reach the tops of their professions because they enter only those professions where you don't ever actually do anything. They don't build, they don't make, they don't construct, they don't manufacture, they don't repair, they don't sew, they don't mend. Every single profession that we associate with liberalism is all talk, but no action. And the thing is, when you don't do anything, you don't need to know what you're talking about. Because when you don't do anything, what can go wrong? So the liberal flocks to academia. Why? The academic doesn't do anything. If he could, he would, but he can't. So he teaches. It is so obvious that the academic doesn't do anything that the very name of his profession has become a synonym for not doing anything. As in, it's all academic anyway. Let's go do something. The job of the academic is for somebody who doesn't do anything to lecture to children who don't do anything about the people who do things and did things and the things that they did and they do.
Welcome back to the program. That is a funny clip, and my guest today is an absolutely hysterical person. My guest today is no stranger to the Josh Bernstein Show, making his fourth appearance on the Josh Bernstein Show, his first, though, on the television show. A former self-professed liberal, he's finally seen the light and used to work for Arsenio Hall and Bill Maher. Talk about two liberals there. And now is America's leading, funniest conservative comedian that there is. Please welcome back to the show, Evan Sayat. Evan, how are you doing this morning?
Well, you know, that's sort of oxymoronic. How are you doing this morning? If it's morning, I'm not doing all that well. But for you, Josh, I get up.
Well, I appreciate that. As I've said earlier in the program, I consider you to be kind of the thinking man's comedian, almost like a conservative George Carlin, may he rest in peace. He was one of my favorites.
Well, he was just about everybody's favorite, certainly for his cleverness. You know, I'll tell you a quick story. Back when I was still doing a lot of television writing and producing, I produced and wrote a 2-hour documentary on the 1970s from the Discovery Channel. And my partner, the money guy, owned the Ed Sullivan Library. So I could use any comedian that I wanted. I could use any band, but bands are expensive. The comedian that I used over and over and over again to segue between bits was George Carlin.
He was brilliant. He truly was brilliant.
And he had insightful points that were salient to the story, the narrative that I was telling, time and time and again. It was that I would pick a Carlin piece.
Yeah, it's true. One of the things that I really liked about him is that even though he was more of a political, I guess, anarchist, he wasn't really a conservative, he wasn't a liberal, that's for sure. He was more like a political anarchist. But his skit that he did...
or a contrarian, but yeah, same idea there.
The skit that he did on global warming, I actually use bits of it now when I describe the false science of global warming.
Well, that's exactly what I was talking about, and I would use clips of him. I mean, one of my favorites was I was introducing the Ali Frazier fight from 1971. So again, my documentary was on the 70s. And there's Carlin, he's on the Tonight Show, and he says, the big fight's coming up tonight, Ali Frazier. It's good to see Ali working again. You know, for a while, he wasn't allowed to work. Of course, he's got a weird job beating people up. The government said, if you won't kill people, we won't let you beat them up. Right. He said, well, that's where I draw the line. I'll beat him up, but I'm not willing to kill him.
He was great. And again, you are picking up the mantle but for the conservatives. And I know that you've done lots of different shows. You've got a show coming up next week at the Laugh Factory in Scottsdale, Arizona, one night only.
I like to call it the world-famous Laugh Factory in Scottsdale, Arizona. That's correct. The
world-famous Laugh Factory. And, folks, you can go to www.scottsdalelaughfactory.com, or you can go to Evan's website, www.evansayit.com, to learn more and to get tickets. But it is the Laugh Factory, the world-famous Laugh Factory, Scottsdale, Arizona, one night only, February 17th. It's a Wednesday. You can call them at 480-607-6878. Doors open at 7:30. Tickets are only $20. And I can tell you right now, it would be the best $20, folks, that you ever spent. Evan is absolutely hysterical. Evan, I want to talk to you a little bit about the political race. Get your take on what we just saw here in New Hampshire. But before we do that, you are a Ted Cruz campaign consultant. Is that correct?
That is correct. I am a paid political consultant to the front runner in the Republican Party. Can you believe that, Josh? You know me.
I like Ted Cruz. I've said that all along. I like Ted Cruz. I like Donald Trump. Those are my two favorites. I really liked Bobby Jindal before he left the
Bobby
race.
Too. There's so many. One thing I'm very pleased and proud of is up and down the line, and on our side, we've got good, smart, decent, accomplished people. Compare and contrast the Democrats who have a felon, no, not a convicted felon yet, but of course he should be, a felon and a wild-eyed socialist.
Exactly.
You may not choose one guy on our side over another, you may have a preference, but there's almost nobody on our side that I have true disdain for. There is nobody on their side that I don't have disdain for.
Exactly. And, the thing is that with Bernie Sanders doing as well as he did in New Hampshire, you have to understand he's from Vermont. He's really from Brooklyn, but he's been in Vermont.
Who isn't?
Right, for a long time. And, it was a tailor-made type situation. I keep going back and forth. Who would we rather run against? Hillary Clinton with her, felons and a felon in waiting and all the things that her bad record and baggage? Or do we want to run against a committed, admitted socialist who hates capitalism and
who hates America?
Yeah.
Here's the thing about the left. They pretend that they hate Wall Street, but of course, how do you get more in Wall Street than Hillary? But they also hate Main Street. They hate everybody who has a job in America. All right, so when Barack Obama says, if you have a small business, if you have a successful business, you didn't build it. He thinks having a business is unfair and unjust. You should be punished. You didn't build it. You got lucky, and probably because of some sort of white privilege. All right, so, and they hate Wall Street. They hate anybody who actually has a job.
I agree. No, you're absolutely right. And one of the funny things is in her concession speech last night, Hillary Clinton said, "I'm going to rein in Wall Street." And I started laughing, and I'm like, really? Hillary Clinton reining in Wall Street is like Colonel Sanders saying that he's going to protect the chickens. All right? It makes no sense.
Are you sure, Josh, are you sure she didn't say, I'm going to rein on Wall Street?
Yeah, that's probably more like it. And then, look, you've got Bernie Sanders, who wants to give away free college. He wants to give away free education, free this, free that. But you know what? What is free this and free that when you have 90% tax rates in a socialized country? It doesn't matter if you get a free education. You can't use it anyway.
And you can't use it on so many fronts. You can't use it because the businesses are going to go out of business.
Right.
You also can't use it because what they teach at the universities aren't usable skills.
Exactly.
And so I've argued that if you attend a university, you are 8 years stupider than somebody who doesn't. Because you lose 4 years of being in the real world by hanging out on campus where you have safe zones and all these other things that have nothing to do with an education. And then you lose 4 years more because you've been misinformed. You are 4 years stupider by attending a college and then 4 years less smart by not being out in the real world.
I agree. And, these kids today, they're indoctrinated at such a young age. They graduate high school with a degree in democratic studies. Then they go to college. They meet their Marxist professor who tells them that the Constitution is an inherently racist document. And they don't really figure things out until after they get married and have kids. And then, even then, a lot of them don't figure things out.
Right. Look, there is a reason that every one of us knows a number of people who started out liberal, and then as they matured, as they experienced the world, as they took on more responsibilities where you have to be right, because if you're wrong, it costs you. See, you can be stupid when you're a college kid because you don't do anything that matters. Right? It's telling, though, that we don't know anybody who grew up to become a liberal.
Exactly.
Either you're a child and you're a liberal because you're a naive child, and then you spend the rest of your life naive, perhaps, and you remain a Democrat, or you grow up and become a Republican. Nobody grows up to become a liberal.
That's true. And if you think about it, you never hear, I used to be a conservative, but now I'm a liberal. Exactly. It's always the opposite. I used to be a liberal, but then I figured out what's really going on in the world, and now I'm a conservative. It's never the opposite.
It never goes the other way. Look at me, Dennis Prager, Dennis Miller, David Mamet. You can go and name literally 100 people that you have come across in your life who have grown up and changed to become a conservative. And by the way, this proves something about conservatives, that we can change. Liberals who remain liberal, all they've proven is that they've never matured. They've never grown up. And by the way, there is a book called All I Ever Need to Know I Learned in Kindergarten. And that is almost the Democratic Party manifesto.
Absolutely. And let's not forget your book.
No, please don't.
The Kindergarten of Eden.
How the Modern Liberal Thinks, the definitive explanation as to why so many good, smart, decent, loving, caring people like your cousin, like your neighbor, like your colleague, will reject the facts, reject reason, and invariably, by doing so, side with evil, failure, and wrong.
Let me ask you this. What did you think of last night's New Hampshire primary? What's your take on it?
Right. Look, it turned out about as well as my guy. And remember, again, I'm a paid consultant to the Cruz campaign, but I do not speak for the campaign. I'm speaking only for myself. But as far as logistically and practically, it turned out as well as it possibly could have for the Ted Cruz campaign. We knew we weren't going to win. New Hampshire is not Ted Cruz country. New Hampshire is Donald Trump, the Trumpian. It is John Kasich. It's not Ted Cruz country. We knew we weren't going to come in first or second. We thought we might even come in fourth or fifth. So the fact that we came in third, and that a non-candidate like Kasich, who is a single state candidate, is the one who came in second, you can almost consider it that we came in second.
And that's a good point. I understand that. I thought that the whole night was very interesting. I think that it kind of played out, as you said, as the way that it should have. I think Ted Cruz did do well, with the third place finish.
And we spent
but Kasich,
no money
you have to
there.
understand.
We didn't spend our resources there. In fact, we spent more time in South Carolina getting ready for the next.
Right. And that'll be truly the test, because you've got Nevada and South Carolina coming up. South Carolina obviously has a lot more true reformer-type conservatives in that state. New Hampshire is very live free or die, but it's very moderate. The entire audience for that debate.
They're less dedicated now. They've actually changed the motto to live free or get a headache.
Exactly. But no, you're right, because I think that Ted Cruz will more than likely do very, very well in South Carolina. But look, Donald Trump is resonating all over the country, so I think it's going to be an interesting race moving forward. But what's more interesting is the fact that Evan is going to be at the world-famous Laugh Factory, Scottsdale, Arizona, one night only, next Wednesday, February 17th, 480-607-6878, or you can go to www.scottsdalelaughfactory.com.
And Josh,
go ahead.
If they want to see clips so they know what I do, they can go to Evan Sayet, S as in Sam, AYET.com. You can also get tickets through there. And I just want your audience to understand this is more than a night of yucks. It's actually a conservative political event. Everybody in the audience is going to be one of us because I market through shows like yours and the conservative radio stations there, etc. I know that some leading political candidates, including somebody who's running for U.S. Senate in Arizona, is going to be there. Talk radio hosts are going to be there. So it's a night for all of us to be together. And then when I'm on stage, it's not just, jokes. Instead of poking fun at the right, I'm poking fun at the left. It's actually a rather thoughtful, you pointed out, like Carlin. I mean, I hate to use this person's name because he is so rightly disliked by our side. But when I was still on the left, I wrote Politically Incorrect with Bill Maher for 6 years. And when I came over to the right, I asked myself, what tool, what skill, what weapon can I bring to this culture war that our side seems to be missing? And the answer was, we didn't really have a conservative political comedian.
Right.
And so that's why I got back into it. I've been out of stand-up for 15 years. I was writing TV shows. I was producing TV shows, then screenplays and documentaries and other things. I only got back into stand-up, and I'm so glad I did because I'm loving it again. But I only got back into it because I recognized we need our Jon Stewarts. We need our Bill Mahers. And I knew that was something I could bring.
Absolutely. And I can say firsthand, because I've seen your performances, we've become good friends over the past couple of years. Evan is absolutely hysterical, folks, and when you do go to the show, you do get an entire experience. It's very thoughtful, it's thought-provoking, and his jokes and his timing is just impeccable. The guest is Evan Sayet, and it's the Laugh Factory, Scottsdale, Arizona, one night only, February 17th. It's a Wednesday night, 480-607-6878. You can go to www.scottsdalelaughfactory.com, or you can go to Evan's website, www.evansayet.com. Tickets are only $20. It is $20 would be absolutely well worth it and well spent. Evan, thank you so much for being back on the program, and I look forward to seeing you next week as well.
I'll see you next week, Josh. Thanks so much. See everybody there.
All right. God bless. Okay, folks, so that was Evan. Evan is absolutely brilliant, very, very smart, very articulate. This is a great show. You guys are going to love this show, seriously. He's really, really funny. Check out some of his videos and things like that on his website, evansayet.com. Before we go, I want to just kind of give you a quick update on what's going on in Oregon. Apparently, Ammon Bundy and the rest of the folks that have been detained and arrested are in solitary confinement. And word has come out that some of them are not even seeing an hour a day of sunlight. And, there's no bed in Ammon's room. It's just like a piece of wood, and there's a little sink and a toilet. And, it's not good. The conditions are absolutely horrendous for Ammon and some of the others. So I want you guys to go to a website, www.fundedjustice.com, www.fundedjustice.com. It is the legal defense for Ammon Bundy and some of the others. So go there, donate some money, take the money that you would put towards your favorite candidate, and instead give to a much greater cause. www.fundedjustice.com. That's all I got. I'll be back next week. Until then, God bless.
Thank you for joining the Josh Bernstein Show. Unabashed, unafraid, and unapologetic. Holding America to a higher standard. For more information on the Josh Bernstein Show or to connect with Josh, just go to StarWorldWideNetworks.com.